My name is Harper Lewis. I'm 34, living in Seattle, Washington. By profession, I'm the chief financial officer for a high-end interior design firm, an industry of elegant facades and curated aesthetics. But behind the pristine balance sheets and color palettes, my private life is far messier. Behind closed doors, I'm Mason Lewis's wife. Mason, my college boyfriend, the man I once believed was my forever. We were together for 11 years. Married for 6. There was a time when I believed nothing could ever touch what we had. We shared bank accounts, shared inside jokes, even shared the same toothbrush once on a camping trip when we forgot to pack a second one. We were that close. I thought love meant invincibility. But I've learned that sometimes the unraveling doesn't begin with betrayal you can hear or see. It starts quietly, like a whisper on a locked screen. That morning started like any other. Mason was still asleep, breathing softly in bed while I padded into the bathroom. Hair a mess, face puffy with sleep. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed his iPhone on the sink beside mine. The screen lit up with a soft glow. A message preview hovered there like an exposed nerve. Can't wait for the weekend. The cabin wine and that pink lace set. I'm counting the hours. It wasn't the flirtation that froze me. It was the confirmation. The reality. I stood motionless, toothbrush suspended mid-air, foam collecting at the corners of my mouth. The cold from the tile seeped into my bare feet as the sounds of running water filled the space. Mason was in the shower, humming softly, washing himself for the day like it was any other Thursday. But it wasn't. Not anymore. I didn't unlock the phone. I didn't need to. That one sentence held everything. I'd known deep down. I just hadn't wanted to face it. The late-night business trips that cropped up last minute. The way he started keeping his phone in the bathroom, even in the shower. The new password on his laptop, after years of open screens and shared Netflix logins. And worst of all, the way his eyes barely lingered on me anymore. Once, he looked at me like I was a spark in a dark room. Lately it was like he was looking through me, as though I were part of the furniture, something too familiar to see. I used to silence that small voice in my head. Don't be paranoid, Harper. Long-term couples go through ruts. You're tired. He's tired. It's just life. But now I wished I could step back into every one of those moments and shake myself. I rinsed my face, dried my hands on the linen towel, and applied my makeup like always. But I didn't feel like me. I felt like someone outside herself, watching a woman slide on mascara while her world quietly collapsed. When I stepped out, Mason was at the bedroom mirror, tying his tie with methodical precision. He smiled at me. The same smile he always gave before heading out the door. "This weekend I've got that client seminar in Portland," he said casually, adjusting his collar. "I'll be back late Sunday." I nodded, my voice even. "Take a thick coat. It gets cold at night there." I didn't ask about the message. I didn't ask who was counting the hours or wearing pink lace. I wasn't ready to shatter the illusion, because in that moment, something inside me began to crystallize into resolve. That night, Mason came home late from tennis. 2 whiskeys in, his sleep was deep, unshakable. I waited in silence, the room lit only by the hallway light, the scent of bourbon and shampoo hanging heavy in the air. I moved carefully, lifting his hand and guiding his right index finger to the phone. Click. Unlock. What I found wasn't just infidelity. It was a second life. Her name was Claire Donovan. She wasn't some wide-eyed 22-year-old. She was a seasoned sales rep for a medical device company. 38, polished, married. Her texts were clever, sensual, emotionally intimate. She knew Mason's favorite scotch. Called him by pet names I hadn't heard in years. Tyler will be in San Jose all week. The cabin's all ours. Taylor. Her husband. I googled the name in the darkness, fingers trembling. Tyler Donovan, 41. An architect in Bellevue. His LinkedIn profile was neat, dignified. A man with kind eyes, stubble, and a quiet smile. The betrayal felt surgical. Precise. Cold. The next morning I sat at my laptop for over an hour typing, deleting, rephrasing. Finally I pressed send. Hi Tyler, this is Harper Lewis. I believe your wife Claire and my husband Mason are having an affair. I can provide evidence if you'd be open to a conversation. My number is 265-573-21. ***. My palms were slick with sweat. 3 hours later my phone rang. His voice was low, cautious. Is this a joke? I wish it were, I whispered. I have screenshots, photos. They're plans for the cabin this weekend. Silence. What do you want to do? He asked. My voice steadied. Would you be willing to meet them there? Before the wine. Before the coats come off. Another pause. Then. Let's meet first. I want to see what you have. We agreed on a small cafe in Ellensburg, halfway to the cabin in Chelan. When I saw him walk in, tall, composed, sadness drawn across his face like a veil, I knew. We were the same kind of broken. I slid the phone across the table. He read the messages. When he got to a photo of Claire's painted toes on a hardwood floor, he froze. I designed that floor, he murmured. She said it was for work. That we were just distant. An hour later we had a plan. Sunday 10 a.m. we'd be there before they arrived. Tyler still had a spare key. I told Mason I had a business trip to Spokane. We wouldn't yell. We wouldn't fight. We'd just be there. The betrayed. Holding up a mirror. The cabin was quiet when I arrived. The lake still and glassy. Tyler was already inside, staring at the water, coffee steaming in his hands. Did you sleep? He asked. Maybe for a couple hours, I said. You? He gave a thin smile. Architects thrive in silence. We shared pieces of ourselves that morning, not as spies or schemers, but as people trying to make sense of a world that no longer made sense. This is where I lost our first baby, I said softly. 3 years ago. We came here after one of his long trips. I thought the stress had caught up with me. Tyler looked over. Claire wanted kids too. But after 2 failed rounds she gave up. Said she wasn't ready. I thought it was grief. But now, we didn't cry. There were no more tears left to spill. Instead we cleaned the cabin, set the table, lit the fire, laid out wine in crystal glasses. 2 chairs facing away from the door, so they'd have to turn to see us. What do you think Mason will do? Yes. Probably explode. He seems like the type who hates being cornered, Tyler said. Claire will cry, maybe apologize. But it won't matter. The truth will already be in the room. By the time the sun dipped behind the pines, everything was ready. Not a trap, just a stage. And we, the audience, the truth, the reckoning, waited. Everything's been verified by my attorney, I said, sliding the folder across the table. The separate account was set up legally, under Washington's community property laws. I followed every step by the book. There was no concealment, just protection. Protection from what I knew deep down was already unraveling. All the financial disclosures have been documented, notarized, and submitted to both attorneys. This isn't a threat or a power play. It's closure. I have nothing to hide. Mason still didn't respond. His silence stretched between us like a second presence in the room. You can review the terms or you can refuse to sign them, I added, voice calm, unwavering. But I'm not changing my decision. Claire had sat back down, instinctively holding her stomach. Her fingers protectively curved as if the truth might shatter her from the inside out. Tyler turned toward her. His voice low but steady. I'll need time to process all of this, he said, eyes never leaving hers. But if you're keeping the baby, I'll take responsibility. The child isn't at fault. Claire nodded, eyes shimmering. I know. And thank you for still being able to say that. I looked at them both. 2 people fractured, but maybe beginning to face their truth, and then turned to Mason. I don't know if you still have something to say. But if you do, now's the time. He raised his head slowly, his eyes red-rimmed and weary. Harper, he said, voice hoarse. All of this, it's not worth ending everything over. We had so many good things. You're right, I said. We did have so many good things. But you traded them away for the illusion of something more exciting. With someone who wasn't even honest with her own husband. That tells me everything I need to know. I'm not doing this to punish you, Mason. I'm doing it to protect what's left of my life. Tyler stood, composed but resolute. I'll head to the car. Harper, if you need anything after this, call me. I think we still have a few conversations left to finish. I nodded, grateful for his calm. His presence had been the quiet anchor in a storm neither of us asked for. Claire stepped toward me, hesitant. I know I have no right to apologize, she said quietly, but I truly never thought it would go this far. I looked at her, really looked. Not with anger, not anymore. Just clarity. The most dangerous people, I said evenly, aren't the ones who openly hurt others. They're the ones who convince themselves they're still good, even while they lie. She froze, breath caught in her throat, then turned away. I picked up the folder, pulled the pen from my coat pocket, and signed the bottom left corner of each page. Every signature was a step out of the wreckage. When I put the pen down, I felt lighter than I had in years. Lighter because I no longer had to carry the illusion of a marriage already rotting from within. Lighter because I no longer had to pretend to trust someone who had proven unworthy of it. I looked up at Mason, once the boy I imagined a life with, the man I built a future beside, the dream of family I had trusted in. Good luck, I said, voice gentle but firm. You're going to need more than that. Tyler and I left the cabin around 9 p.m. inside. Mason remained in his chair, hollow and still. Claire curled in the corner, clutching her stomach like the only thing left of herself was the life now growing within her. No one saw us out. No one needed to. We walked in silence. The crunch of dry leaves beneath our shoes marked the closing of a chapter. Tyler opened the car door for me, then slid behind the wheel. Before he started the engine, he turned to me. You want to eat something? He asked softly. I know a little place in downtown Chelan that stays open late. Nothing fancy, but their chicken soup's pretty decent. I laughed, a hoarse, unexpected sound but real. Yeah, let's eat. I'm starving. We sat side by side in the warm haze of a late-night diner, the yellow light casting a soft glow across the wooden table. Neither of us dissected what had just happened. Instead, we talked about other things. Tyler once considered leaving architecture to become a pastry chef. I confessed I had once dreamed of opening a bookstore cafe in Santa Barbara, until Mason called it a waste of capital and whimsy. After dinner, we parted with a light handshake and a nod that said, we survived it, we didn't become lovers. But I had gained something deeper. Friend. A person who had walked with me through the darkest night without flinching. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my beach house in Port Townsend, cradling a cup of tea, watching the Pacific waves crash below. The divorce had finalized in under 2 months. My attorney had called it one of the smoothest proceedings she'd ever seen, because I had prepared meticulously. I had gathered every financial document, filed all necessary disclosures, and protected my future through a legally validated separate account. Mason knew he couldn't challenge it. The longer he resisted, the more he stood to lose. I kept the majority of the assets, including a buyout on the old cabin, which I later sold back to him. I didn't need to keep a place filled with ghosts. Mason lost his promotion. His firm's managing director, a sharp, ethical woman named Beatrice, heard whispers at an internal event. Nothing was ever said aloud. But over time, he was quietly removed from high-profile projects and passed over for the next executive director role. He ended up overseeing Team B, temporarily. Placeholder. Shadow. Claire gave birth last week. Tyler texted me. Asterisk baby's here. Healthy. A girl. Emotions are all over the place, but we're trying. Asterisk, he attached a photo. A tiny fist curled around Claire's finger. Tyler's eyes looked softer than I'd ever seen them. I don't know if they're back together. But I do know they're learning to be honest now, finally. Even if late. As for me, I live alone by the sea. No more corporate titles. No more 12-hour workdays and midnight email chains. I'm a freelance financial advisor now, setting my own schedule. I work with women starting over after betrayal, not just as a strategist, but as someone who understands the fear and loss that come with it. I started writing again. Picked up the dreams I'd shelved. I keep lavender on the porch and play classical music while the tide rolls in. I don't think of Mason anymore. Not with pain. Not with longing. Just with clarity. He was never the destination, just a lesson. A painful, expensive one that taught me the price of blind trust and the cost of abandoning yourself in the name of love. But I survived. And I found myself again. And if someone were to ask me, was it worth it? I would say, without hesitation, absolutely. Because I am no longer the woman begging to be seen. I am the woman who sees herself clearly. And that's more powerful than any apology he never truly meant.